are you differentiating
Okay,
between?
well,
Like, how can you
I
about the experience?
I tend to spend almost all my time in meaning making. Of late, I've been spending a lot of time in experiencing. It's more clear to me what the distinction is. You know, it's like uh, I the executing of things that need to be done. But in this case, if you imagine it as sort of like time out in the world with your body versus time with ideas.
I don't.
I don't.
I do like.
I do like.
What you. I would
say kind of the experience, but I don't like it being done to me. I like it to be. I like a.
I definitely
prefer a level of intentionality with it, so it results from previous, I suppose you would call meaning making, right?
But
if I don't, realize some stuff and do things that I wanted to do, or and otherwise, I'm enjoying, then I do get a little stove up.
But I don't just like any.
But I don't just like any. It doesn't. It can't just be random. It has to be something I'm
excited about, or just
I mean, there are things that I just physically enjoy. Like, it's like, all right, let's go do some adrenaline, stuff. I enjoy that. But
And then, like, well, what's going on in your head as you're doing those sort of things? What are you thinking about? And how actively are you linking it back to sort of a sense of self-concept that's evolving as expansive as possible and active? Where is it active? Or to what extent do you find the sensory experiences replace that?
no, I have to have a mental component. Like, I mean, especially in general, sensory experience. Like, I enjoy things that combine the two. That they give me at least something that are engaging enough, both mentally and physically, that I can kind of be present. Right? It's all kind of synced up, but those are hard to find. So, I mean, a lot of times when I'm being just kind of casually physical, like I get up, like, all right, I need to go for a walk, and I'll just go, like when I'm at a conference or something. So I go to this Comic-Con thing once a year, and it's like about day 1.5, I get real antsy and I just start walking. I just start walking up the street, and then I go until I find something to do. But I mean, I'm thinking while I'm doing it, and sometimes I think about walking or doing something physical because I can think about, I maybe can think about less things, I guess. So I can think about one thing harder. Or less things, more focused.
How satisfied are you? How good do you feel in general as you move through the world? Or to what extent do you have nagging senses of either doom or seeking or something?
Definitely seeking,
I suppose. Like, I'm always, to varying levels, there's always something, I'm always compelled to move towards something else, right? To change where I'm at. I'm always moving. Like, I use that, and in all dimensions, right? I like to be on the move. I don't like to be stuck in a spot. And then that works out. Like, I'm actually going through something right now. So I've been working this full-time job in various versions for like 3 years, which was good because for various reasons, it was what I needed to be doing. But now I've been getting this kind of angry at, I can see all the possible futures, right, of the situation. And yeah, it's good on paper, like objectively, like it's a good job. I get to goof off and talk on here like half the day, all kinds of great stuff like that. But at the same time, like, I hate it because there's no mystery or adventure or surprise to it anymore. So I've gotten me something new. I'm going to be switching. I use some of my, I guess, reputation and a little bit of coincidence and good timing. I'm going to be teaching a couple of classes at the university in the fall. So I'm excited about that just because it's something different to do. it's not like it's what I want to do forever, but it's movement, so I'm happy. And but computer science, I'll be teaching an intro and a like junior level data structures class. So, but I'm excited because I'm going to teach like 4 days a week, right in the middle of the day. So I get to sleep probably on a more preferred, because I sleep good in the morning. So I was like, okay. And then I'll have lots of time to work on projects. That's been driving me nuts too, is I can't go bonkers and like obsess over a project for, longer than a weekend. Just killing me with the full-time job.
Do you have a vision of what you would like, what life would be like if everything were all correct? If you were you in the world as you ideally could manifest both components, do you have a vision of what that would be?
It's only a skeleton, right? It's only a framework within which to work. It's not, there's no specifics. So it's basically just the ability to move on things, typically creative things, right? And being able to work on those and have both the resources and the time to work on them in the intervals and timeframes that I'm kind of possessed to work on them, right? But I've also come to decide that those things, there's this idea that I see thought of or addressed a lot that's like that there's one thing or maybe two, there's a finite set of things, that those things, if you figure out that those are the things you like to work on, are the things you will always like to work on. And I don't think that's true. I think the best I can narrow down is the framework. But that's what I do value, is the ability to behave in that manner. And also that I value more the ability to move in that manner rather than the resources to move, right? Like I'd rather have to work to scrounge for resources or work, or, than not be able to work on something that requires them. But yeah, I don't know that there's one thing or anything that that's what I would always like to do.
Well, I mean, what's interesting is I feel rather the same way, in the sense that I don't know exactly where I'm going or what it looks like. I have I have lots of medium-term goals. Like within 10 years. 10 years is the magic number. Within 10 years, I'd like to blah and blah and blah. But, over the course of 10 years, that blah and blah and blah will probably change.
I used to have longer
distance ones. I don't really even look that far out hardly anymore. Usually I can do year-long, like I can almost lock things in for a year, right? I can usually talk myself into, all right, you can stay in this position for a year, and part of the argument is I promise I'll change something at that point, right? But yeah, I don't know. And I do get myself into things that are extended, like lengths of time, like the degree I'm in right now. But
well, the interesting thing is,
that's just because I'm very good at honoring the commitments that I commit to myself, but I don't do it lightly. So I don't have a lot of them.
The interesting thing that's related to all that is, regardless of what else I do, I, at least at the moment, see it as largely subsumed by talking with famous people. In other words, that this form is probably like the master framework for me. It's like I can fit everything underneath this some way or another. Probably.
Yeah.
I feel like I use writing in a way. It's my backbone that I keep going back to. And if I can find things that fit in that, like I tend to use it as a a measure of value about things, because if something I'm doing I find a way to connect it back to being useful to that endeavor, I do assign some value to that connection. But
I also know that I couldn't.
Just do that. But that's again why I like it. Like I remember a few years ago, I came up with this idea. I realized that writing fiction is the only job I know of that theoretically could at least make money. I enjoy doing it, right? And it basically, the job description is you need to know a whole bunch of stuff. You know a good amount about absolutely everything and be able to tie it all together. And I'm like, that sounds perfect.
And so I really kind of
hung on to that since I kind of came to that revelation.
I'm always moving,
I guess, a little more in that direction than other directions these days.
Fiction writing is hard in part because you're producing something that asks a lot of a consumer in terms of attention. Like, I understand there is a novel reading public out there, and I have been part of that novel reading public for some parts of my life. I'm not now. I just know that, like, you and I have both written books. Oh, that's nice. A butterfly. I don't think either of us have read the other person's book.
I haven't read yours.
I haven't read yours, no.
So there you go, right? That's the problem with fiction writing.
Right.
That's the problem with it. And who is a better?
I found
who's a more likely audience member?
I worried about that less before I had stuff out there, right? I've gotten enough response from people that I worry about that less. Like I stopped trying to make that decision on other people's behalf. It's like, oh, people react far more enthusiastically to my work than I guess I would, right?
Which is
satisfying in a way.
And it's reassuring. Like
I've kind of okay. I'm always writing. It's like I read a weekly column, and it's really weird because I sit down, I give myself 30 minutes, and I usually wait till the last minute right before my editor starts texting me going, where is it? And I sit there and I just write something.
And there's usually not a lot of
I don't put a whole lot of extra stuff in it, right? I just write it and then I sit it, and then usually I forget it immediately afterwards. But then there's people that accost me in public or tell me like, oh man, that was great, that was wonderful, or whatever, you know. And so I kind of managed to, like, even though I don't feel it, right, I have enough evidence that I can assume that, oh, this is valuable even if I don't
feel anything about it,
right?
People seem to value it.
My judgment is clearly bad about this.
I should stop trying to
value myself because I'm really bad at that.
Yeah,
and that it's irrelevant.
I have an interesting understanding of my own judgment about my own shit regarding music. I've recorded hundreds of songs, hundreds of musical recordings, and hundreds of songs too, probably. But I always think right after I'm done, that's fantastic. And then, like, within 2 or 3 days, I know how I actually feel about it. Sometimes that's terrible. And sometimes it's, oh, that is fantastic. And sometimes that's pretty good. But here's what's wrong with it. It takes me a few days to listen to it, to figure out what's wrong with it, what's not wrong with it, what's good, what's not good. And people's response to music is, it's like, it works like this. Everybody is going to respond in a spectrum to your shit. And so it's like, Joe might think the best of your shit is bad and the worst of your shit is awful. And Sue might think the best of your shit is genius and the worst of your shit is pretty good. But if you have enough different songs, then you can know from each person how good it actually is in relation not to other people's music, but to your own other songs. And so I'm looking to find something that stands out amongst my growing pool of possible examples of Eric's music as really great example of Eric's music or bad example of Eric's music, not examples, not against other people's shit, and that makes it very possible for me to know within a few days, once my introverted intuition gets a chance to sit with it, basically, whether or not something's good or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with the time thing.
I agree with the time thing. Like I tend to have one I've learned to discount my immediate reaction to anything or my in the moment reaction to anything I'm creating, right? And then I go back around to it later and be like, oh, okay, now I can look at it a little more objectively and be like, all right, what do I, and of course I've forgotten at that point the process of creating it. It's almost like it's someone else's work at that point. I don't know if you do that. But
it depends on,
I find stuff all the time that I've written or made that I honestly don't remember the process of making it. I know that I did, but I don't. And so that I always have a pretty raw reaction. It's always nice. It's like, oh, this is pretty good. And sometimes it's even like, wait, did I write this? I'm not always that funny. You're like, I don't feel that funny right now. That was quite funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there are definitely lots of things that I feel are. I don't feel any comprehensive creative connection of the sort that you're talking about, like where you go, I understand where it came from and how it got there. There's the better stuff, I understand that less. I think the better stuff has more introverted intuition in it, and thus is inexplicable. And for music anyway, I'm just talking about music because I have a much more conflicted and complicated relationship with writing.
Yeah.
There's one other thing I wanted
I've written
to talk to you about, though.
It's just again, it's not my.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
I get it, and I play a lot of music.
All right, so the other thing I wanted to mention or talk to you about is what we're both talking about here. I'm recording this, by the way, and I keep muting my own mic when you're talking so we don't have so much echo. That's why it's kind of, I keep choppy a little bit. Anyway, is this whole not knowing how we feel about shit and not knowing whether it matters or is important to us or whether we like it or what will be satisfying or besides change. I mean, at the end of the day, what do we do with that?
I mean, I just
kind of roll with it. I've at least in my present tense, I've just kind of I try to manipulate the frameworks in which I moved so that they at least produce some change. When I do need to be in one element of my life more, I guess, stable, I complement that by other things that give me the more stimulus and change. But then long term, I just kind of know that that's what. I mean, I also know there's a possibility theoretically that I could find something where I don't really want to change so much, but that's a much further possibility. So I just kind of roll with the idea that I'm not going to lock into long-term things, right? I don't operate on that basis. And I find that I'm in a much better state because even allowing the possibility of change is in a sense pleasing that part of me that wants it, right? If that makes any sense. I was kind of rambling there.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just find, well, introverted feeling type stuff for me, love relationship or generally stuff that really engages my feelings a lot, like Taylor's situation, that I manage those things really poorly. I don't like experiencing strong feelings. It's not that I don't like it, it's that I feel every time I experience strong introverted feelings, I see them as basically a problem I need to solve, as far as I can tell. Is there anything that's going to prompt me into taking some sort of action and make me feel as though I need to take action rather than deliberate, it's an introverted feeling, because you can't deliberate about them. It doesn't do any good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that it's
it's not strong feelings that I I wouldn't make a general statement that I don't like. I don't like feelings that are not within a structure, framework, or situation that there can be nothing done about, right? I like being nice. I love it when it's like, oh man, yeah, I'm angry and I'm gonna go do that or whatever it might be, right? But if it's only the one side, like that's what it's like. You're like, what the heck am I supposed to do with this? You're like, this is just making me feel weird.
Well, and I've had this conversation with Kimberly trying to figure out what to do with feelings in general, and she explains to me that what you're supposed to do with them is you have to sit with them and feel them.
I don't do that.
I don't do that. I do what I do. You know, I like glare at them analytically until they go away, and you're like, I find that if you look at them really hard, they just kind of scurry away most of the time.
I would say that
that's my general reaction.
Well, my basic experience with feelings.
I don't sit down beside them. I turn towards them and I glare at them, and then they go away. Anyway,
I got this hurt feelings phenomenon where periodically I am in a mood where I'm conducive to hurt feelings, and then something will happen that's totally okay, and I'll get hurt feelings about it, and then I'll sit there and I'll be like, find a way to blame the other person for my hurt feelings. You know, that's basically what I'm trying to do there. And at the same time, the other half of me is going, Eric, you're just trying to find a way to blame somebody for your hurt feelings. And then I go through this battle inside of myself, and usually I end up trying to talk to Kimberly about it. Now, Kimberly, who's not used to talking to somebody in relationships who's rational and reasonable, goes into defense mode for defenses that she learned in other horrible relationships with fucking extroverted sensors, you know, and goes into fight mode. But I'm not trying to go into fight mode. I'm trying to I'm trying to work through my own failures with FI, you know. But her going into fight mode tends to escalate shit. So we tend to be like, I got her feelings, and I go like, and she goes, yeah, and I go, ah, and then we go, yeah, you know. So it's kind of awful because it's just like, what the hell? Feelings are supposed to be good or not. I mean, it seems like most of the feelings I experience are negative feelings. At least the ones that I can clearly distinguish from other feelings. That seems so unfair.
Yeah,
you observe, or at least there is descriptions of a great deal more nuance of feelings out there than I can relate to.
So
I am mildly fascinated by the theory of more nuance, but I don't
get it.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either. But, you know, soldier on.
Yeah.
Soldier on. I know one thing that makes me happy is when I feel as though I've been exceedingly clever about something. That makes me happy. I love that.
I agree.
I agree.
All right, thanks for watching Talking with Finfield. This has been an excellent 24-minute long conversation with HAudra.